Eli didn't mean to be a hero. He was just the homeless kid they let work the Lakewood High party for cash, stacking cups while pretending he didn't hear the rich kids joke about him. Then he saw it, a star quarterback slipping a pill into a red cup meant for Lily, the biker's daughter who clearly didn't belong there. Eli didn't shout. He didn't switch the drinks. He did something worse. He grabbed the cup and drank it himself. Minutes later, as the poison tore through his body and he collapsed to the floor, nobody realized the real nightmare was only just beginning. Welcome to Echo Tales family. If you're new here, go ahead and hit subscribe, because this story is going to reach places in your heart you didn't see coming. To everyone who's been riding with this channel from day one, may God keep pouring His blessings over you. Now, what you're about to hear is the journey of a homeless boy who chose the hard right over the easy wrong, putting his own life on the line when an innocent girl's future hung by a thread, and no one else was brave enough to step in. The music at the Lakewood High senior party shook the rented mansion. Bass rattled the glass doors, colored lights flashed over sweaty faces, and someone yelled every time a new song dropped. In the kitchen, squeezed between stacked soda and plastic cups, a skinny boy in a gray hoodie kept his head down. His name was Eli. To everyone else, he was just the homeless kid the catering guy brought to haul ice and trash. He moved along the counter, refilling chips, swapping out empty bottles, pretending not to hear the jokes. Careful, he might rob the place. Is he even a student? Eli swallowed it all. Phoenix nights like this were just transactions. For hours of noise, some wrinkled bills, then back to the alley behind the 24-hour laundromat off I-17 where the concrete was cold but predictable. If you're still here with Eli, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with where you're watching from. Your support helps push stories like his to more people who need to hear them. Out in the main room, Lakewood royalty held court. Tyler McCoy, quarterback and son of a Scottsdale real estate big shot, leaned against the island, cap backwards, grin wide. Cheerleaders, varsity jackets, and hangers-on circled him like planets. Eli knew Tyler's type, born sure that rules bent around their last name. That was when Eli saw her. Lily stood half in the doorway, half out, a plastic cup dangling from her fingers but still empty. Black jeans, black boots, denim jacket. No glitter, no neon. Just a thin silver chain at her neck and eyes that kept sliding toward the front door, measuring the distance. 2 weeks ago, she'd arrived at Lakewood on the back of a matte black Harley with out-of-state plates. The man who dropped her off wore a leather cut with Hell's Angels stitched across the back and a road name everyone whispered, Razor. Rumors spread fast. She was Club Blood. Her real last name was buried in paperwork. Her father was the kind of man you didn't cross unless you wanted trouble chasing you down the highway. Eli hadn't cared about gossip. He cared about the way she stood like she didn't trust anyone in the room. Yo, Tyler. One of his teammates bumped him, nodding toward Lily. Think she's into quarterbacks or killers? Tyler smirked. Why not both? He grabbed a bottle of vodka, started pouring into 2 red cups, cranberry juice sloshing after. His voice dropped just enough to feel secret without actually being quiet. Watch this. Razor's little princess is about to find out nobody tells me no. Eli's hand froze on the stack of napkins. He hadn't meant to listen. Listening got you noticed. Noticed got you hurt. But certain words cut through noise: razor. Princess. Nobody tells me no. He glanced up before he could stop himself. From a distance, Tyler looked like any other guy pouring drinks. Up close, Eli saw the angle of his shoulders, turned just enough to hide one hand. Tyler's right fingers dipped into his jacket pocket, came out with something small and white. A pill. His left hand hovered over the cup meant for Lily. Eli watched the pill drop into the red liquid. A tiny fizz, a quick swirl, and it was gone. Tyler stirred with his fingertip, then set that cup beside a clean one. The move was smooth, practiced. Not a joke. Not an accident. "Hey, Lily." Tyler called over the music. "You look tense. Come try the house special." She pushed off the doorway slowly, like she was walking toward a ledge. Eli could see her knuckles widening around her empty cup. Tyler's friends shifted, spreading just enough to form a loose wall behind her. Anyone trying to leave would have to squeeze past them. The shape of it made Eli's skin crawl. He'd seen that shape in alleys and shelters, right before someone decided the weakest person in the room was theirs. Don't get involved. Stack cups. Take the cash. Leave. The advice was simple, the kind you needed to survive with no address and no backup. But as Lily stepped closer to Tyler, Eli's stomach twisted. He pictured her on the floor, unresponsive, while people screamed and filmed and said it was just one of those things that happen at parties. He pictured himself in the corner, knowing he'd watched it unfold. Tyler picked up the clean cup, took a loud, casual sip. "See? I don't pour trash," he said, raising the poisoned one toward Lily. "Your turn." Eli moved. His sneakers squeaked on tile as he cut through a knot of juniors. The music seemed to blur at the edges, but Tyler's hand and that red cup stayed in perfect focus. Eli's mind raced through options. Shout and they'd shut him up. Swing and he'd get dragged outside and stomped. Call the cops and they'd ask why a homeless kid was working an unsupervised high school party with open alcohol. He heard his mother's voice from a different life, from a cramped apartment that didn't exist anymore. If you can't live with what happens next, you don't walk away. Eli stepped between Tyler and Lily. Tyler's eyes narrowed. "Yo, what are you doing? We're busy here." Eli didn't answer him. His hand shook as he reached for the cup. The cup. For a heartbeat, Tyler resisted, fingers tightening, then he let go, amused, like he was curious how far this would go. "What are you doing?" Lily whispered, confusion cutting through the bass. Eli lifted the cup. The smell hit him, vodka, cranberry, and something underneath, sharp and chemical. Every instinct screamed at him to drop it, to run, to shove it into the sink and pull the plug. Instead, he met Lily's eyes for half a second. "You shouldn't have to drink this," he said. Tyler scoffed. "You trying to show off, man? You don't belong here." Eli put the cup to his lips and drank. The taste was brutal. Burn, sour, bitterness that clung to his tongue. He forced himself to swallow all of it. No half measures, no evidence left behind. When the last drop was gone, he dropped the empty cup into the trash bag at his side. A chorus rose around them. "Oh." Homeless kid chugged it. "Dude, that was hers. Relax, Tyler cut in, face smoothing back into a grin. If he wants to play hero, let him. Bet he's wasted off one drink anyway. Eli wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. His heart hammered once, hard, then seemed to stagger. He turned to Lily. Up close, she didn't look like a legend's daughter. She looked like a girl trying not to freak out. Why did you do that? She asked. Because you didn't want it, he said, voice rough. And he wasn't going to hear no. She stared at him like she was trying to figure out where he fit in this world. Behind her, Tyler had already turned away, irritated his moment got ruined. Eli could see him scanning the room, looking for a new angle, someone else to impress, another corner where no one would interfere. Eli stepped back, or tried to. The floor shifted under him. For a second, he thought someone had bumped him, but there was no one close enough. Heat flashed through his chest. The outline of the room softened at the edges, colors smearing. The DJ's voice warped through the speakers. The bass hit, and his heart tried to match it, then slipped. His fingers tingled. The stack of cups in his hand suddenly felt too heavy. Hey, Lily said more sharply. Are you okay? Okay. The word bounced around in his head. His tongue felt thick. He tried to answer and heard his own voice come out wrong. I'm fine. He wasn't. Sound twisted, stretching and snapping back. Some faces turned toward him, frowning, others kept laughing, clueless. Eli looked at Tyler, solid, steady, no sign the poison had touched him, and realization crashed into him. This dose wasn't for someone like Tyler. It was for someone smaller. Someone like Lily. Someone like Eli. His hands started to shake, a fine tremor moving up his arms. Sweat prickled his skin even though the AC blasted cold air from the vent above. He reached for the counter to steady himself. His palm swiped air. The cup slipped from his hand, clattering across the tile. For one floating second, he felt weightless. The kitchen stretched away from him, light streaking in red and blue lines. Lily's face was the only thing clear, eyes wide, mouth forming his name even though he'd never told her it. Then the floor slammed into him. Pain exploded along his shoulder and hip. The taste of chemicals scorched the back of his throat. Shouts erupted, chairs scraped, someone screamed. His vision tunneled, the edges going dark, but he caught fragments. Is he drunk? Call someone. Did he OD? Eli tried to suck in a breath. His chest fought him. Somewhere beyond the music and panic, tires hummed on asphalt, far away on the Phoenix night. Out there, on some stretch of highway, Razor rode under the stars, unaware that someone had aimed poison at his daughter. Eli's thoughts scattered, but one stuck as the dark closed in. When Razor found out what really happened at Lakewood High tonight, this party wouldn't just be a party anymore. It would be the beginning. Eli surfaced into pain. Not sharp pain, heavy pain. Every breath felt like a weight was pressing on his chest, every heartbeat like it had to claw its way through thick syrup. The kitchen ceiling lights were a blur above him, spinning in slow circles. Voices crashed over him in waves, shouting, swearing, someone crying, someone laughing like it was still a joke. The music had cut, leaving only the ringing echo of the last bass note rattling in his skull. cold tile pressed against his cheek. His fingers twitched and met a puddle of something sticky and sweet. He tried to move and his body refused. His arms felt like they were bolted to the floor. His tongue was a rock in his mouth, numb and useless. He heard words, but they came in pieces. Is he drunk, or? Dude, he just dropped. Should we call? Relax, he'll sleep it off. Somewhere above him, Lily's voice pierced through the haze, tight and scared. No, something's wrong. This isn't just alcohol. He drank that whole cup in one go. He wanted to tell her it was fine, that he'd do it again, that at least she was still on her feet. All that came out was a low, broken sound. The world tilted. Faces slid in and out of view, Tyler's annoyed frown, a girl covering her mouth, a guy filming with his phone, the bright, disorienting glare of someone's flashlight app shining straight into his eyes. If stories like this grip you, hit like and subscribe so you never miss the next twist. Because for Eli, this night was far from over, and every second you stay with him pulls you deeper into what's coming. Stop filming him. Lily snapped. Her voice shook, but there was something hard under it. Tyler, we need to call an ambulance. Tyler shook his head, jaw tight. No way. You want cops here? You know what my dad will do if this blows up. He's fine. He just overdid it. He nudged Eli's leg with the toe of his spotless sneaker like Eli was a spilled drink. Get him out of the kitchen. He's freaking people out. Someone laughed, nervous and ugly. Two of Tyler's teammates moved in without waiting for more instructions. Strong hands grabbed Eli under the arms, jerking him up. His head lolled forward, the room stretched into streaks of color. His legs didn't work, feet dragging against the tile as they hauled him toward the back door. Hey! Lily's voice came again, closer. Where are you taking him? Outside, one of the guys grunted. He needs air. Eli wanted to warn her. Wanted to tell her that outside never meant help when guys like this were scared. It meant no witnesses. But his mouth wouldn't open. His thoughts stumbled, tripped, scattered. Cool night air hit his face like a slap as the door flung open. The roar of the party dulled behind them, replaced by the softer sounds of the Arizona suburb, distant traffic, crickets, the hum of pool equipment. Backyard lights cast everything in a pale glow. They dragged Eli across the patio, past the shimmering rectangle of the pool, over to the darker edge of the manicured lawn near the cinderblock wall. They dropped him. His shoulder hit grass and hard dirt underneath. Stars burst behind his eyes. For a moment he lay on his side, lungs wheezing, the sky spinning above him in a smear of black and orange from the city glow. He thought of the alley behind the laundromat, of the way the streetlights never quite reached the ground there, of how he promised himself nothing worse would ever happen to him than what had already happened. He'd been wrong. What did you give Tyler? A voice demanded. Hands grabbed his hoodie, rolling him onto his back. Tyler's teammate, Josh, big, broad-shouldered, eyes wild, leaned over him. Another player, Cody, flanked the other side, fists clenched. Behind them, the silhouettes of a few more kids hovered near the sliding door, watching but not intervening. Eli blinked, vision doubling, then tripling. I didn't. Josh's fist slammed into his ribs before he could get the words out. Fire shot through his side. Air exploded from his lungs in a soundless gasp. Try again. Another punch. What did you give him? Nothing. He wanted to yell it, to spit it in their faces, but his throat seized. The drug dragged him under like deep water. His limbs felt far away, like they belonged to someone else. Cody's kick caught him in the back, just below the shoulder blade. Pain flared white. He dropped in the kitchen right after Tyler. You messed with those drinks. We all saw you. The word scraped out, barely audible. He put something in hers. I took it. Liar. Josh's voice cracked. Fear, not just anger. Tyler doesn't need to drug girls. He could have any of them. A wild gesture toward the glowing house. You're just a stray trying to take him down. Another kick, this time to Eli's stomach. Blackness rushed up at the edges of his vision. He curled on instinct, weak arms trying to protect his ribs and face. The grass was cool against his skin, the world above was a blur of shoes and fists and muttered curses. Back at the sliding door, someone shifted. Guys, maybe we should stop, if he dies or something. Shut up, Cody snapped. He's breathing. Look at him. This is what you get for poisoning people. The word stung more than the punches. Poison. They had no idea. He'd taken it to keep it out of Lily's blood, and now they were beating him for it. Some dark, bitter part of him almost laughed. This was exactly why he'd hesitated. Poor kids didn't get to be heroes, they got to be suspects. Please, he managed, voice raw. Check her cup. Smell it. Cody's foot drew back for another kick. Stop. The word cut through the night like a blade. Lily stood at the edge of the patio, jacket half-zipped, hair coming loose from its ponytail. Her eyes burned in the dim light. One hand clutched her phone, the other was curled into a fist at her side. You're going to kill him, she said. And you're beating up the wrong person. Josh straightened, breathing hard. You don't know what he did. Tyler. Tyler tried to hand me that drink, she snapped. I watched this kid step in front of me and take it instead. He didn't spike anything. He took something meant for me. Silence fell for a second. The pool pump hummed. Someone inside turned the music back on low, like they were afraid of quiet. Josh shook his head, clinging to his version of events. You're confused. You're freaked out. Tyler wouldn't. Lily lifted the cup in her hand. Eli hadn't even seen her pick it up. A thin ring of red clung to the bottom. I smelled this. There's something wrong with it. I've been to enough safety talks to know what that scent means. Her gaze hardened. He saved me. Cody shifted, uncertainty flickering across his face. Then why'd he drop too? Because whatever was in there was strong, she said. And he hasn't eaten. Look at him. He's skin and bones. Eli would have been embarrassed if he could feel anything but pain and nausea. Josh swallowed, jaw working. Then why's Tyler on the floor inside? Huh? Explain that. Lily hesitated. The party noise from the house spiked for a moment. A shout, a scream, something heavy knocking over, then the muffled sound of someone yelling for help. The back door slid open again. A girl stumbled out, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Tyler's not waking up," she cried. He's not waking up." The fear in her voice sliced through whatever excuses Josh had been building. He looked from the house to Eli to Lily, panic rising. "We have to call 911, Lily said. "No softness now. Command. He might die. They both might." Josh hesitated. "Cody didn't." "And tell them what?" "Hey, officers, there were drugs in the drinks at a party where 30 minors were pounding vodka." He pointed at Eli with a shaking hand. "No. We say the stray OD'd and tried to take Tyler with him. We say he brought something. That's the story." Lily stared at him like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You're going to lie to protect someone who tried to drug me?" Cody's nostrils flared. "Tyler's my friend. And he was about to make me a victim," she shot back. "Do you really think his dad's money is more important than what he almost did?" Josh raked a hand through his hair. "Guys, just stop. This is getting crazy. We need an ambulance. We need—" Lily's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down, thumb hovering over the screen. For a heartbeat, her face changed, softened, then hardened in a different way. A choice settled over her. "Fine," she said quietly. "If you're too scared to tell the truth, I know someone who isn't." She turned away from them and stepped a few paces toward the corner of the yard, where the shadows were deeper. Eli watched her through the haze, the world narrowing to the glow of her phone screen and the tension in her shoulders. She hit a single contact and lifted the phone to her ear. It rang once. "Yeah." The voice on the other end was low, rough, and carried even through the tiny speaker. Eli didn't know the man, but something in him reacted to the tone, danger wrapped in calm. "Dad," Lily said. Her voice trembled for the first time. "It's me." Josh froze. Cody's eyes went wide. "Lily? You okay?" the voice asked immediately. The softness was subtle, but it was there, threaded through the gravel. "No," she swallowed. "I'm at a party near Lakewood. Someone tried to drug me. A boy took the drink instead. They're beating him up. And Tyler McCoy's unconscious on the floor." There was a beat of silence. Not confusion, calculation. "Text me the address," her father said. The softness vanished. What replaced it was cold steel. "Stay where people can see you. Don't go anywhere alone. 10 minutes." The line went dead. Lily lowered the phone, fingers shaking. For a second, she looked younger, like the reality of what she'd just set in motion hit her. Then she turned back to the others. "He's coming," she said. Josh swallowed. Who's coming?" Lily met his eyes. "Razor." The name landed like a physical blow. Cody swore under his breath. "You called your dad? Are you insane? If he shows up here with his buddies, the cops." "The cops should have been called 10 minutes ago," she cut in. "You chose not to. So I made a different call. Somewhere beyond the cinderblock wall, faint at first, Eli heard it. Engines. A low, distant growl, like thunder still far out over the desert. It could have been normal traffic on the main road, except it was too steady. Too many cylinders. Too many bikes rolling together in tight formation. Josh backed away from Eli, eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the yard. No way. No way they get here that fast. Lily glanced toward the street, then back down at Eli, who lay barely conscious in the grass, chest struggling, eyes half open. You asked who he is, she said softly. He's the man everyone in this town pretends they don't see when he rides past. And he just found out someone pointed poison at his daughter. The engines grew louder. The bass from inside the house was nothing compared to this. The sound rolled over the neighborhood, rattling windows, making porch lights vibrate. One engine became 3. 3 became 10. 10 became dozens. Headlights began to sweep across the tops of the backyard walls, beams slicing through palm fronds. Josh whispered, "Oh, my God." Cody took a step toward the door. "We should get everyone inside. Tell them to." Too late. Tires screeched out front. Somewhere, a car alarm went off. The deep rumble of Harley engines filled the air, layered, relentless, like the heartbeat of something huge circling the block. Eli's vision blurred, but the sound anchored him. Engines meant movement. Meant arrival. Meant the one person in this city whose name carried more fear than Tyler's father's money was now less than a block away. The sliding door burst open. A girl ran out, eyes wide. "There are motorcycles everywhere," she gasped. "They're blocking the street." Her words cut off as another engine roared closer, this one louder than the rest, deeper, as if it carried the weight of all the others behind it. It stopped. Silence fell for a split second. Then, from the front yard, a single voice rose above the idling thunder. Lily. Razor had arrived, and he wasn't alone. Engines shook the night like thunder locked in gasoline and steel. From where Eli lay in the grass, barely conscious, the sound rolled through his ribs and rattled his bones harder than any kick had. The backyard lights flickered against the cinderblock wall as headlights from the street swung past, carving white streaks over the top. Inside the house, music died again, cut off mid-song, replaced by confused shouting and the scrape of chairs. Lily took a few steps toward the back gate, heart pounding so hard it made her vision pulse. She'd heard her father roll in angry before, but never like this, never with this many bikes behind him. Josh and Cody hovered near the sliding door, stuck between running inside and pretending they hadn't been kicking a half-conscious kid into the ground. If you want to see how deep this story goes, like and subscribe before the next blow lands. Because out on that quiet Arizona street, something was coming for Lakewood High that no one there was ready to face. The first bike roared past the side of the house, unseen but loud enough to make the pool water tremble. Tires squealed as they stopped short in the cul-de-sac. Doors slammed. Voices rose, neighbors yelling, someone shouting to turn that noise down, someone else swearing they were calling the police. Over all of it came the steady idle of dozens of Harley engines, a layered growl that sounded almost like breathing. The sliding door opened again. More kids spilled into the backyard, faces pale in the artificial light. Some clutched their phones, filming, eyes wide with the thrill of seeing something dangerous and real. Others looked ready to bolt. "What is that?" a girl whispered. "Bikes," Josh said, his voice cracking. "A lot of bikes." Lily. Her name cut through the air from the front yard, shouted once, the syllables hard and familiar. She didn't hesitate. Lily jogged across the grass, stepping wide around Eli's crumpled body. For half a second she glanced down at him, the bruises blooming, the way his chest hitched like every breath hurt, and guilt stabbed her. If she'd left instead of coming to this party, he wouldn't be bleeding on a stranger's lawn. But if he hadn't been here, she might be on a gurney right now or worse. She hit the latch on the side gate and pulled. The gate swung open to a wall of headlights and leather. Bikes lined both sides of the street, chrome catching the yellow glow of street lamps. Men in cuts and helmets stood beside them, silhouettes big enough to swallow most of Lily's classmates. At the center of it all was a black Harley with a custom fairing and a front wheel that gleamed like polished bone. The man straddling it swung one leg off and stood, boots hitting the asphalt with a thud. Razor. He wore a black t-shirt under his cut, arms inked to the wrist, beard shot with gray. His eyes did a full sweep in a single, precise motion. The house, the bikes, the neighbors peering through blinds, the cluster of terrified teenagers in the doorway. Then his gaze landed on Lily. For a moment, the rage in his face softened. He closed the distance in 3 strides and pulled her into a brief, fierce hug, one hand cradling the back of her head. "You hurt?" he asked. She shook her head against his chest. "No." He leaned back just enough to look her over, scanning for bruises, torn clothing, any sign someone had laid hands on her. When he found none, he exhaled once, relief, sharp and quick, and then the softness was gone. "Where," he asked quietly, "is the boy who took that drink?" Lily's throat tightened. She stepped aside and gestured toward the open gate. "Backyard." "They dragged him out there." Razor's jaw clenched. He looked over his shoulder at the men behind him. "2 of you stay with the bikes," he said. "Everyone else, with me. No one touches a kid unless they have to. We keep this clean." Nods. Low grunts of assent. The pack moved as one, boots thudding on concrete, the sound of chains and patches and unspoken rules moving in formation. The neighbors who had ventured onto their porches shrank back as the line of bikers angled toward the gate, their presence swallowing the space like a storm rolling between houses. Inside the backyard, conversations died as soon as Razor stepped through. The air changed. Even the pool seemed to go still. Razor filled the narrow entrance, his cut stitched with the red and white Deatha's head, his road name curled above the territory rocker. The kids nearest the door stepped back instinctively. Some looked at their feet. Some stared openly, fascinated and terrified. Lily slipped in behind him. "There," she said, pointing. Eli lay half on his side, half on his back, hoodie twisted, one sleeve ridden up to reveal bruises already darkening on his forearm. His face was pale, lips tinged gray, eyes barely cracked open. Every breath sounded like it had to fight its way past something heavy inside his lungs. Razor went to one knee beside him. For a second, he didn't move. Didn't speak. Just studied the boy's face, the way his chest rose and fell, the torn fabric, the dirt ground into his jeans. He reached out, putting 2 fingers lightly against Eli's neck. A beat passed. Another. Then he nodded once, to himself. "Still with us," he murmured. Eli's eyelids fluttered. He saw a blur of dark hair and ink and metal. For a moment, in the fog, he thought his stepdad had come back, that this was some new nightmare where the man who'd left him now stood over him furious. Then the features sharpened enough to show differences, not similarities. This man's anger wasn't for him. "Hey, kid," Razor said, voice low but steady. "Can you hear me?" Eli's lips parted. No sound came out. Razor's gaze flicked up, locking onto the nearest football jerseys. Josh and Cody froze like deer in headlights. "Which one of you hit him?" Razor asked. No yelling. No threats. Just a simple question that made every hair on Josh's arm stand up. He poisoned Tyler," Cody blurted. "We were just." Razor lifted one hand. The other bikers didn't have to be told what that meant. They shifted, closing ranks a little, but didn't step forward yet. "That boy," Razor said, nodding at Eli, "took a drink meant for my daughter. You understand me? Your friend slipped something in her cup. This kid drank it instead. Then you dragged him out here and stomped on him." His voice didn't rise, but the edges sharpened like a knife being honed. "So I'll ask again. Which one of you hit him?" Guilt and fear battled on Josh's face. He looked at Cody. Cody looked away. Lily stepped in, anger finally catching fire. "I saw them," she said. "They both did. And Tyler's inside, unconscious, because he didn't get to finish what he started." A murmur ran through the crowd of kids at the door. Some had suspected. Hearing Lily say it out loud with Razor standing there turned suspicion into something heavier. A biker to Razor's left, stocky, bald, with the name, Tank, stitched over his heart, tilted his head toward the house. "Boss, you want us to check on the quarterback?" Razor nodded once. "Find him. Call an ambulance. Don't let anyone move him unless they know what they're doing." He looked at Lily. "You stay here." Tank jerked his chin at 2 others, and they disappeared through the open sliding door. Razor turned his full attention back to Josh and Cody. "You boys got names?" he asked. Josh swallowed. "Josh." "Cody," the other muttered. "Josh and Cody," Razor repeated, like he was filing it away. "How old?" 17, Josh managed. "Old enough to know better," Razor said. "Old enough to understand that when you see someone go down, you help them. You don't use them to work out your fear." Cody's face flushed. "You don't get it. If word gets out there were drugs here, Tyler's dad." Razor's head tilted. "Tyler's dad what? Sues everyone. Make some calls. Pay some fines." He nodded toward Eli. "How much do you think that matters to him?" Eli tried to speak. Razor leaned closer. "You say something, kid." "Didn't want her to." Eli forced the words out, each syllable scraping. He was smiling. Razor's jaw tightened. He laid a hand gently on Eli's shoulder, an anchor in the chaos. "I know," he said. "You did good. Those 3 words hit Lily harder than she expected. She'd heard her father praise men who'd taken punches for the club, who'd done time without talking, who'd bled on the road, but something in his voice now was different. Softer. Respectful. From the house, a shout rang out. "Call 911. He's not breathing right." Tank's voice followed, louder, aimed toward the backyard. "Pulse is weak. We need medics now." A girl in the doorway fumbled with her phone, dialing with shaking fingers. Sirens were already a faint echo in the distance. Someone else must have called earlier. The whole neighborhood was a live wire now. Razor exhaled once, then looked up at his men. "We're not running from this," he said. "Cops are coming. They're going to see who's on the floor, and they're going to want someone to blame. We make sure they get the truth, not some rich kid story." Josh flinched. You're going to tell them everything?" Razor's eyes narrowed. "You planning to lie to them after what I just heard my daughter say?" Cody swallowed. "If Tyler goes down for this, his dad will destroy us." Razor rose slowly to his feet, the motion controlled, predatory. He stepped closer to Cody until they were almost chest to chest, though Razor had a couple inches and decades of hard miles on him. "Listen to me, son," Razor said quietly. "Your friend loaded a gun and pointed it at my girl. That boy," he jerked his chin toward Eli, "took the bullet. You put your boots into the kid who saved her. And you're worried about someone's dad being mad?" Cody's bravado cracked. His shoulders sagged. Josh looked like he wanted to vomit. "Boss!" Tank called from inside. "He's seizing." Lily's hand flew to her mouth. For a heartbeat, she thought Tank meant Eli, but the biker's head was turned toward the house, not the yard. "Tyler." Sirens grew louder, weaving through the engine rumble. Red and blue lights flashed against the walls, reflections smearing over the pool's surface. Razor glanced toward the street, then back down at Eli. "You ride with us tonight," he said to the boy, voice low enough only Lily and Eli could hear. "Whether you know it or not." Eli's eyes rolled, fighting to stay open. The drug was still dragging him under, his body trembled from the earlier beating. Lily dropped to her knees opposite Razor, reaching for Eli's hand. His fingers were cold and slick with sweat. "Hey," she whispered. "Stay with me, okay? Don't check out now. You didn't go through all that just to stop breathing in some rich kid's backyard." His grip tightened just enough for her to feel it. The first police cruiser screeched to a stop out front. Doors opened, radios crackled, officers shouted. Another siren joined, then an ambulance, lights throwing frantic color over the line of bikes. The neighborhood, usually quiet by 10, now looked like a movie set, except there were no retakes here. 2 officers rounded the corner of the house, hands near their weapons, eyes darting from cut to cut, patch to patch, trying to calculate how badly their night had just changed. "Hands where we can see them," one barked. The bikers lifted their hands slowly, palms open, a dozen hardened men moving in sync, showing they weren't the immediate threat. Razor didn't flinch. He just straightened, body between the cops and Eli. "Officer," he said calmly, "we've got at least 2 kids poisoned, one of them inside seizing. Paramedics need to get past you now if you want anyone to live through this." The younger cop's gaze flicked down to Eli, then to Lily, then back to Razor. The name on Razor's cut registered. So did the sheer number of bikes parked out front. "What happened here?" the officer asked. Razor's answer hung in the air like a lit match over gasoline. "That," he said, "depends on whether you're ready to hear what your town's golden boy was really doing tonight." Behind him, from inside the house, a paramedic shouted, "We're losing him." And in that razor-thin moment, with cops, bikers, and frightened teenagers locked in a circle of secrets and sirens, everything hinged on whose story would be believed first. Razor didn't waste time answering the officer's question. Paramedics pushed past him toward the house, gear clattering, radios crackling. The backyard filled with red and blue flashes bouncing off chrome, pool water, and frightened faces. Eli lay in the grass, half-conscious, feeling the world tilt and lurch around him while adults argued about who was to blame. Lily stayed on her knees beside him, fingers still locked around his cold hand. Every shout from inside, every, "Clear the space," every, "We're losing him," hit her like a physical blow. Tyler might have tried to drug her, but she didn't want his death on her shoulders, didn't want anyone saying this all started because she'd walked into the wrong party. If stories like this have you hooked already, like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because for Eli, Lily, and Razor, this night was not the end, it was the line that split their old lives from everything that would follow. An officer crouched beside Eli, shining a small light into his eyes. "Name?" he asked. Eli tried to answer. His tongue felt thick, but Lily squeezed his hand and leaned closer. "It's Eli," she said. "He took the drink meant for me." The cop glanced at Razor's cut again, reading the patches, weighing the situation. "Is he family?" he asked. Razor's jaw flexed. "He is now," he said. They loaded Eli onto a stretcher when the second ambulance arrived, oxygen mask pressed to his face, for snaking into his arm. Lily climbed in beside him without asking permission, eyes daring anyone to say no. Razor jogged alongside as far as he could before the paramedic closed the doors. "We'll be at County General," Lily called to her father through the narrowing gap. Razor nodded once. "I'll be right behind you." The siren wailed, and the ambulance pulled away from the curb, weaving past the line of Harleys and stunned neighbors. Through the rear window, Lily could see Razor standing in the middle of the street, bikes idling around him like a steel circle, the whole block watching. Inside the ambulance, the medic checked Eli's vitals again. "You picked one hell of a night, kid," he muttered, adjusting the mask. "Whatever was in that cup, it's fighting hard." Eli's eyes flickered open. For a moment, all he saw were ceiling lights and unfamiliar faces. Then Lily leaned into his field of vision, expression fierce and scared all at once. "You're not allowed to die," she said, voice low but firm. "You understand? You didn't drink that for nothing." He wanted to joke, to say something like, "I'll try to fit that into my schedule," but his chest hurt too much. Instead, he blinked once, slow and deliberate. Lily smiled, just a little. At County General, chaos had a different flavor. Harsh fluorescent lights, antiseptic, clipped orders from nurses who'd seen everything and didn't have time for drama. Tyler was rushed down one corridor, Eli down another. Lily stepped aside only long enough to let the gurney swing past, then followed as far as the doors would allow. "Family only past this point," a nurse said, blocking her with an apologetic hand. Lily almost said, he doesn't have any, but Razor's boots thundered up the hall before she could answer. He's with me, Razor said. Name's Eli. He took something meant for my daughter. I'm paying his bill. The nurse hesitated, looked from Lily's determined face to Razor's cut, then to the pale boy disappearing behind the swinging doors. You can wait in there, she said finally, nodding toward a small family room. Doctor will come talk to you after he's stabilized. We'll also need statements for the police. Razor gave a curt nod. You'll get them. They sat in silence at first. Lily hunched forward on a plastic chair, elbows on her knees, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles ached. Razor paced once, twice, then stopped, looking at the posters on the wall without really seeing them. For all his years, all the miles, this was something he had never gotten used to, waiting while someone else decided what happened to people he'd chosen to protect. You like him, Razor said finally, not unkindly. Lily snorted softly. I barely know him. Didn't ask how long, Razor replied. Asked if you like him. She thought of Eli stepping between her and Tyler's grin. Of his shaking hand lifting the cup. Of him on the floor, gasping. He did something no one else in that room did, she said. He paid attention. Razor nodded, something like respect in his eyes. That's rare, he said. On the street. In clubs. In schools. Most people look away when trouble starts. He paused. He didn't. The door opened. A doctor in blue scrubs stepped in, mask hanging loose around his neck. He checked the clipboard in his hand, then looked up at them. Family of Eli? He asked. Razor straightened. Here. He's stable for now, the doctor said. We pumped his stomach and started him on fluids. Whatever he ingested was a high dose, but he's young, and we got to him in time. He's going to need monitoring, but it looks like he's going to pull through. Lily exhaled, a shaky sound that was half laugh, half sob. Razor's shoulders relaxed a fraction. Can we see him? Lily asked. Briefly, the doctor said. He's groggy, but conscious. They followed him down the hall to a small room where Eli lay hooked up to monitors. The beeping was steady, his chest rising and falling with less effort now. His eyes were half open, unfocused, but when Lily stepped to the side of the bed, they tracked toward her. Hey, she said softly. You made it. He tried to smile. It came out crooked. Still, here, he whispered. Razor stepped up on the other side of the bed. Up close, Eli could see the lines around his eyes, the years etched into his skin. This was not a man who forgot things. You saved my kid, Razor said simply. That makes you my problem now. Eli's brow furrowed. Sorry, he mumbled. Humor flickered at the edge of his exhaustion. Didn't mean to cause problems. Razor huffed a tiny laugh. Too late. The police came later, notebooks out, body cameras on. They wanted details, who poured what, who saw the pill, who threw the first punch in the backyard. Lily told them everything. Razor filled in the gaps with what his men had witnessed. A nurse confirmed the lab's preliminary report, a strong sedative in Eli's blood, the same compound found in Tyler's. When the officers asked if Eli wanted to press charges against Josh and Cody, he hesitated. The easy answer was yes. They'd hit him when he couldn't defend himself. They'd called him a stray. They'd believed a lie because it was more comfortable than accepting what their friend had done. But he remembered the panic in Josh's voice when he'd realized Tyler might die. Remembered Cody's bravado cracking in the backyard. "I just want the truth on record," Eli said finally. "About the drink. About what Tyler did. After that, do what you're going to do." One of the officers studied him for a moment. "You're sure?" Eli nodded. "They were scared. Doesn't make it right. But I'm still breathing." Outside the room, Razor caught the officer's eye. "You make that report disappear," he said quietly, "and I'll know. So will every man who rode in with me tonight." The cop swallowed. "Nobody's burying anything," he said. "Not this time." By Monday, Lakewood High was a different planet. The official emails talked about a medical emergency at an off-campus gathering and ongoing investigations. But phones traveled faster than memos. Videos of the party circulated, blurry shots of Eli falling, flashes of bikes crowding the street, glimpses of Razor's cut. Rumors multiplied. Some said the Hells Angels had kidnapped Tyler from the hospital. Others said Eli was in a coma. The truth sat somewhere in the middle of the chaos, waiting. Eli didn't go back to school. He hadn't been enrolled for months. But he did go back to Lakewood's neighborhood, sitting in Razor's truck a few days later, side aching but head clear. Lily sat between them, arms folded, eyes hard. "You don't have to do this," Eli said. Razor shook his head. "Kid like Tyler doesn't learn anything if everything happens behind closed doors." He nodded toward the school's front steps. "He needs to see who stood up for you. And who you stood up for." The meeting with the principal, the school board rep, and Tyler's father felt like another kind of fight. Tyler sat with his arm in a sling, skin still pale. He couldn't meet Lily's eyes. His dad tried to talk over everything, to blame the mystery kid, and party culture, and bad influences. But there were lab reports now. Police statements. Witnesses. And one stubborn girl who refused to lower her voice. In the end, Tyler lost his scholarship offers and his captain's position. There would be a record, sealed maybe, but real. His father left the building louder than he'd entered it, but quieter inside. Outside, on the steps, Lily turned to Eli. "You didn't have to stand there," she said. "You didn't owe me anything." Eli shrugged, wincing a little. "You didn't owe me anything either," he said. "But you made that call." Razor jingled his truck keys. "You both made choices," he said. "You paid attention when it counted. That's rare. That's useful." Eli frowned. "Useful for what?" Razor studied him for a moment. "You got somewhere to sleep that isn't behind a laundromat?" Eli hesitated. "Not really." "You got anyone paying for your meds, your follow-ups?" Razor pressed. Another no. Razor nodded once, decision made. "Then until you do, you ride with us," he said. "You'll have a bed. Food. Some old ladies who'll fuss over you more than you want. And rules. A lot of rules." Lily smiled. "He's serious," she said. "You'll hate the curfew." Eli looked between them, the girl whose life he'd stepped in front of, and the man whose name could freeze a room, and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, anchored. "You sure?" he asked quietly. "About taking in a stray?" Razor's eyes met his. "You're not a stray," he said. "You're the kid who took poison meant for my daughter. That makes you family." For the first time since the party, Eli let himself really breathe. The sun was starting to set, painting the Arizona sky in bands of orange and purple. Bikes were waiting back at the clubhouse, engines cooling, patches hanging on chair backs. Somewhere between those steel frames and this school parking lot, a homeless boy who'd once lived in the shadows had become someone people noticed. "Okay," Eli said. "Then let's ride." Razor tossed him a spare helmet. Lily opened the truck door, grinning. The night that had almost killed Eli had rewritten all their lives. There were still court dates ahead, angry parents, and a town that would whisper every time a Harley rolled past the high school. But there was also a new family, a new home, and a road stretching out in front of him that wasn't just about surviving one more day. It was about choosing who he wanted to be, now that he'd proved exactly how much he was willing to risk for someone else. And as the distant rumble of Hell's Angels' engines rolled toward them again, Eli stepped forward, ready to meet it.